which isn't to say that we're not meeting a need that is growing, but I think there was this idea that we could sort of flip some old-fashioned ideas on their head and not worry so much about following that sort of like, that path.
Really the central value it could be adaptability, not growth and expansion, but adaptability, responding, meeting to needs, identifying needs, shifting. That's, that low to the ground stuff is because communities are listening to each other and tuning in and not just working from a policy basis.
Yes.
That's what's radical about the funding model you're talking about.
And that was what actually held our foundation back for a number of years. Next year will be 10 years, but the first handful of years we were criticized by the bigger organizations for being so versatile and for being so nimble. We were meeting the needs of the community in the moment, and that was holding us back from bigger corporate funders who wanted to be able to just say, we focus on this and that we give money to this. And I think the cool part of Tegan and Sara Foundation is, like Tegan and Sara, the band and the fans, we created a community. We just had, one of our main programs is called Community Grants, and so we meet emergency needs from the community, and we kind of put together a cohort, and we'll fund everyone at the same time. And we did an open call for the first time in 10 years, and we got over 1,000 applications. And this is a meaningful number because that's 1,000 small grassroots LGBTQ organizations that are focusing right now on immediate needs of the community. That's overwhelming. It's staggering. So if anyone has $5 million, we need some. So, but we were able to immediately get out the door $100,000. Right away, we picked 23 that we thought had so much potential. We've got 30 more that we vetted, and that is what Tegan and Sara Foundation really has become. We know, we understand what is happening in the community. We are sourcing all of those organizations that are doing immediate work and affecting the community in the moment, and we're vetting them, and we've got that list. And whether you feel moved to give to our foundation or one of them, we have that list. And I think, as Sara said, it's creating a long-term relationship with these organizations where they know that the job they're doing, it doesn't have to be big and grandiose, it's just important.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we continue to do the work. It's been super, super, super hard, but really, really, really inspiring. And again, now that that guy got in again, I think, there's no need ever before. I mean, there are 900 religious freedom acts that are going to hit the Senate. They are going to roll back rights like we haven't seen. They're going to take away, they're going to try to take away gay marriage in a lot of places. We talked about this before he came on stage. Every province pretty much in Canada is going to roll back rights on trans youth. Don't think it's an American problem. It's here too. And I don't want to get into I don't have children, but but they're so cute.
Why don't you write a song? You're putting all this pressure on me. I wish Sara would send me a song. Get going.
I know.
Yeah.
I haven't thought. I'm busy with the dog, but I'm very cognizant of the fact that I don't have children, and so I appreciate I shouldn't have a say on how people raise their children, but also it's your children, and the idea the government is telling people what their kids should feel or be like or how their young lives should look. I know as a young queer person, and especially when Sara and I were really young, we had some gender dysphoria, and the idea that I would have experimented with how I saw myself and then been told by a teacher or the government, that I can't use different pronouns. I'm sorry, kids can be anything they want. My best friends have a kid who wants to go to school. So that also inspires us to keep doing the work too, because it's so easy to be well, I'm middle-aged now, so I'm not afraid of anyone anymore, so I'll just stop caring. But I'm afraid for the next generation. I'm afraid for all of us still too. Afraid's terrible because that feels like giving up. But I'm empowered, and I want to fight and be protective.
And I would argue that as somebody who doesn't have children, that your voice weighing it in is actually really important. The people around us when we were raising our kids who weren't raising children were lifesavers. And also, you get perspective. As a parent, you're offered perspective by somebody on the outside who loves you and loves your kid, and can say, you get a little triggered by that. No, whatever. But also, they're also incredible allies for our kids, because I know that our daughters trust our non-parent chosen family members and family members, and they tell them things in confidence, but they also kind of know that somehow we're going to benefit from that. and they all are all of our children.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would be a really great paradigm to shift in the world, where there's this real sense of responsibility to all children, because they are incredibly vulnerable.
Sure.
And
Well, also I think I represent something, like, maybe because we're twins more than ever before too, that's the juxtaposition of the two of us will be yet another sort of mountain we'll climb as a band for the public, but like I'm choosing not to have children. It's not because I don't like children. I actually love kids, and there was a time where I would have wanted to have children, but I am choosing not to, and that doesn't make me less than. It doesn't make me less interesting. It doesn't make my life less full. It doesn't make me selfish, shallow, and self-absorbed, although I'm a little bit. And I think that it's a great book. It's not a joke for anyone. It's a great book about writers talking about not having children, selfish, shallow, and self-absorbed. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't make me less than, you know. And I couldn't be happier for Sara that she has a kid, and I'm so grateful for the experience of getting to be so close to a child in that way, you know. Like it's only happened a few times, but when he mistakes me for Sara in that brief moment, I understand the absolute avalanche of emotion and hormones and attachment that must happen as a parent, and I'm so grateful to be just this close to it.
child adjacent.
Child adjacent feels great for me, but I hope going into the world, like I can also be like, you can have a full life. You can be, you know, like my partner and I we're dinkwads, double income, no kids with a dog, and it's great. It's great, but it doesn't make me less of an artist. It doesn't make me less compassionate. It doesn't make me want to fight less for people of our community, or for young people, or for the future. Like, you know, JD Vance.
Yeah.
Well, especially too when you think about, I mean, this has been a really eye-opening thing for me, even as I know that so many people in our audience are aging with us, but there is this feeling sometimes that somehow we are just older than everyone. Like you just start to feel like you have this, I don't know what it is, it's the microphone and the stage and the thing that happens, but I feel this sort of concern, care, protection feeling for our community, but even more broadly the LGBTQ community. And now that I'm a parent, I used to be so indifferent to kids, but I get it now in the sense of like, this isn't just about like caring about someone's kids. This is like, these are the people who are going to like change our bedpans and are going to be like sending us off, you know, at the end of our lives. And these are the people who are going to keep the wheels turning, and whatever you feel about the world and politics and capitalism and all of these things, like young people that is the future. And if you, and I really, it sounds so stupid, but it's like, I didn't really get that before.
Yeah.
I didn't really get it. And I saw young people more just as like competitors, or like annoying people who I was like, get out of the way, why are you here, you know, like,
Yeah.
why can't you take the later dinner reservation, must you come at 5:30? That's all I could see when I saw young people.
Yeah.
And now I just get it on a different level, and I think it's also part of what's making me feel really attached to the idea of parenting in communities, because I just do not believe that we are born bad, or that we have bad feelings about people. And I see the joy and the sort of like the unbelievable acceptance that my son has for everything, and just the wonder and joy. And it just makes me so sad to think that we learn to not like each other and not care for each other.
Yeah.
And because of something you think or something you feel. And I know that might change as he grows up and he starts to like adapt. Like he's in that very like, I'm on ecstasy stage of life, you know, where everything like a leaf is amazing, and he's always picking up garbage off the street and telling me it's beautiful, and like it's wonderful. It's wonderful energy to be around. I just don't understand. I don't understand how it happened that we grow up and we hate each other so much, do such horrible things to each other. And I really do believe that the Tegan and Sara Foundation allows us to not fall into total despair, because I think we are so sensitive, and we have had to see all over the world the way that our community is treated. We've toured in places where it is illegal to be gay, where people will put letters on the stage and tell us, like, you're literally the only people who know this, but I'm gay. You know, or who are serving, you know, but in the military. And
So then we read it on stage and we're like, come on up here.
Oh my God.
We've got a special Message from Melissa. Melissa?
I feel like we've just seen the sort of like the kind of quiet suffering of so many queer people around the world. I'm broadly generally using the word queer to sort of capture the community here, but if we didn't have the foundation, I think I would have lost my mind.
So you're able to apply all the incredible sensitivity that you have, the empathy. You're able to find it's a place where you can channel your actions.
Yeah.
And make everything you feel into something that people can experience. And that is so consistent with your trajectory as artists, right? Like making something that people can experience, making an event, making something tangible, making something that changes people's lives, you know?
It's concrete. It's the exact opposite of cynicism, right? And of that kind of, well, what can we do anyway? That's the worst slippery slope.
Yeah.
That is the thing that gives me the most joy in my life. Whenever I see my kids experiencing hope,
Yeah.
I think, amazing.
powerful.
Because it's so, one can really spiral with awareness, but that is the most subversive thing. Hope, an active optimism, an engaged optimism. That is the only way forward.
It's interesting too, like I have had so many opportunities, traveled all over the world and met amazing people and watched amazing films and read books and eaten amazing meals, all of these things. And at least in my situation, like I look at Sid and I just think, like I'm so desperate to know that his future will mean that he can do those things too. That he will get to travel, that he will get to love people and be loved by people, and I just think that is I don't know, that's like, I guess it is cynicism, like as I sort of like was entering into like middle age, I did find myself thinking like, but what else? Like what else and I think that's why I could sort of slip into this kind of comedy of like, oh, I don't really care what happens in the future, and like young people are annoying or whatever. But now that I have a young person, I'm like, I suddenly do feel invested in the future in a different way, and I'm sort of embarrassed that I sort of.
Well, you're just seeing the world a different way.
Yeah, I
Which,
really
by the way,
do.
happened to me recently. This is gonna sound absurd, but I swear I've never taken an edible before, but I took. Stick with me.
She doesn't do drugs, you guys.
I don't. I actually literally do not. I don't. But recently, I have a house on an island, and my partner left me there. I asked her to, but like I was there. Yeah, I was there because I wanted to be there. But she left me with our dog, and I didn't have like anything to do for days, and I was writing, which was like super inspiring, and I've like over 5 years really come to terms with the fact that I have this dog that distracts me all the time when I'm in a really creative place, and I've like reconciled that and like understand she's what's all those irritating memes from the internet, like you're annoyed but it's their favorite part of the day or whatever, and it's like a dog on a leash or whatever, and I'm like sure, but the other day I was on this island, like 5-6 days had gone by, and my partner was on her way back the next day, but it was kind of feeling like what it would have been a great afternoon to go like sit on a patio and have a drink or something like that, but that wasn't going to happen. I was on this island by myself, and so I went into the basement. When people come visit, sometimes I don't know why people always bring drugs with them, but I don't do drugs, so we just have this bag in the basement with like edibles and weed and things that like I would have loved to do as a teenager, but not now. And I, out of like sort of an act of desperation and also like I sort of like, ooh, what would this be like? I took an edible and I was writing, and then Georgia came and tapped my leg, and I was like, all right, I gotta take her for a walk, and we went on this like amazing walk. You guys, seriously, like it was like I understood the meme in a whole different way. Like I could see her nose. Like I mean, if you've ever seen a dog's nose, I could see every part of her nose moving, like breathing in and smelling every in. I was like, it was unbelievable. Like and I thought to myself, my God, so much of my life was chasing dopamine. You know what I mean? It was like chasing our career and building and sacrifice, and I must do this, and this is who I am, and I'm an artist, and I'm creative, and it was this really amazing moment where I was like, I literally had thoughts like, the world is so beautiful, nature is important, we have to save it, you know, like, my dog is my best friend. You know, like I had literally like those thoughts while I was walking, and I was like, what a gift. Not the edible, but like the relationship between me and the dog. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's so beautiful because it changed. I know, I'm sorry, that took almost 4 minutes, but I think it changed the world when you had children. Like it did. It changed the way you saw the world and that access to hope and fear and all of the spectrum of emotions. Like it's what, you know, makes you human beings and artists.
And really, really paying that kind of close attention and the reward that is implied in that and is
Yes.
sometimes contained in that. Back when you mentioned that Sid is fascinated by garbage and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
The other day he brought over a cigarette butt. I was like, what is this? And I was like, he's never seen a cigarette. Actually, that's not true. We have this great vintage Peanuts book. And it's like, what is happiness, or what happiness means to me? I can't remember. It's from when we were little kids. And it's the most fucked up artifact. I was so excited to give it to him. I kind of went like, oh my God, this book, I'm gonna bring it home for him. And it's like, one of the things is like, happiness is when, you know, I don't get beat up on the way home from school. Happiness is when my dad gives me the wrapper from his cigar, like the little ring. those are the pages. And so I'm reading it to Sid, and my wife is like, wow, that's really an interesting book. And I was like, you know, on one hand, I was really horrified. Like, he has so many questions, obviously, too. Like, it covered a range of, he hadn't seen a lot. Like, he's like, what is a cigar? Like, everything was new to him in the book. Like, he's used to, like, the boring usual shit. And so he was like, whoa, wow, this book is amazing. What are all these things? And what does it mean to be beat up, you know? And I actually thought to myself, you know, kids now, they're so sheltered. No wonder they're so traumatized when they start getting bullied and there's
Wow,
the
what a
kids
statement.
No, but I just go with me on this. Like, when we were kids, we were just preparing ourselves for it, you know? Or like, it was not a shock to me when we got to junior high and kids were like, I mean, it was a little bit of a shock, but like kids were like, oh, I had sex this summer, and they were smoking cigarettes, and they were wearing their Club Monaco sweatshirts inside out, you know? And I was kind of like, wow, life moves fast, you know? But I feel like with Sid, you know, I love when he, like, I try all of which to say when he brought me the cigarette butt, I was like, that's for adults, it's poison. Don't, if you ever find one, tell me. His whole thing right now is running around, anything we tell him, don't, if you ever see batteries, call for a grown-up. So every time he sees like a battery, like the other day we were in Home Depot and we were walking through the battery aisle. And he's doing this thing where he really needs to be far away from me, like he wants independence. And so I'm like, whatever, I'm trusting that he's just following me, and I'm like walking, acting. I'm walking through the aisle and I just hear, batteries! I turned around and I was like, yes, Sid, those are batteries. And he's like, the bomb's gonna go off. Anyways, I love it. I love how everything is just exciting and new, even a cigarette butt on the ground. So.
I don't know how to make a segue from that.
No,
But I do have some questions from the audience that in our last little while, I thought there's some beautiful questions here. You up for that?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Here's a question. What is the most memorable impact story from your foundation grants?
Well, our flagship program is wow. Let me start again. Wow, what a great question. No.
Okay, is the edible hitting
I
now?
did take it out. Just kidding. I didn't time it quite right, but
You were saving it for the flight.
yeah. One of our flagship programs is LGBTQ summer camps, and on any given year, that number changes slightly how many there are in North America. I think this year there's 29, but you know, it fluctuates from time to time. This year I believe there's 10 active in Canada, but For almost 10 years now, we send two LGBTQ kids to summer camps where they can meet people like them, but maybe most importantly, meet adults that look like them, that seem like them, that can, sort of reflect to them a future. I think that's the scariest part. I'm sure you guys feel this way too, is when you were young and you realized you were queer, you were like, what will my life look like? Because you never saw it.
Yeah.
So I would say like the impactful thing that still gets me every single year is the testimonials from the parents, the people who work at the camps, and the kids. It's it's changing their lives. It's giving them hope. It's literally saving lives. And so it's one of our proudest achievements is helping those camps expand.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna start with you, Sara. What's one attribute of each other that you wish you possessed? So I don't know if you can find one.
No. I mean, I think, in some strange way, if we were one person, I think that we possess sort of extremes of each other. Like Tegan is where I sometimes am perhaps somewhat, I don't think of myself as insecure.
Hey Biden,
I just,
what's an attribute you like about me?
That you wish you possessed.
Sorry, that she's got
you
even
were rambling for I was very calm when you were having a stroke
This
over
one's
there.
easier though, it's just an attribute.
You go ahead and start then.
Okay, Sarah's very patient. Thank you.
And Sara, if you have to pass on this, that's okay.
I guess confidence.
I'll take it.
Here's a two-parter. Would you rather play small venues or large crowds?
That's a really tricky question. It really just depends on the venue because I love a big crowd. Like, who doesn't love a big crowd? Big crowds. That's exciting. But sometimes small venues allow for a real sense of the experience and the show. Like, it can feel more granular or something. Like, I saw the people. We made a funny joke. We could pace the show slower. Whereas when you're playing to a big crowd, I think there's momentum is just a different game.
Do you feel the same in theater? Is there a massive difference in the size of the house?
Yeah, massive difference, and they're both thrilling in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to choose.
This seems like an incredible space. It's beautiful. It would be so immersive.
Yeah.
I would be totally happy in a room this size playing a show, but they're undeniably walking out on a festival stage and seeing tens of thousands of people it's really exciting. And I always think of us we're the guy that gets shot out of the cannon. Once you've been shot out of the cannon 100 times, it's hard to get excited about getting shot out of a cannon.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, sometimes it takes a really big cannon, to get you excited. I don't know, I can't finish that. But sometimes a big crowd it's the jolt you need to get really excited.
Yeah, cool.
Like you didn't think that was cool. I feel like you're taking on Tegan now, and I feel ganged up.
You know what? That was my management affirmation because I was acknowledging it but moving on.
Yeah.
It was. So you caught me. I was inauthentic. I wasn't present in the moment for you.
No, you know what? I liked it. It was
I
actually
was giving director for sure. I liked it. I liked it.
No, it was good. It was good.
I like a woman to be in charge.
all the great journalists and interviews that we've done, they very rarely acknowledge your response.
It is kind of a
They
weird
generally move on to the next question.
Oh.
And I remember before we did Fresh Air with Terry Gross, I told Tegan I gave her a few tips because I was like, listen,
Because I'm too dumb to
No.
listen to Fresh Air.
I just said, when Terry Gross gives her intro and says, welcome Tegan and Sara, don't say anything. Do not speak, okay? She's gonna just go straight from welcome Tegan and Sara into her first question.
And I'm a good person because when she said, welcome Tegan and Sara, for a moment, I was like, I'm going to say something just to annoy Sara. And then I was like, no, I'm give it to her. It's okay. It's fine. But
But
it's
it
her
can be-
birthday. So.
It can be a bit disarming though, because you'll give like what you hope is a great answer, and your fantasy is that Terry Gross will say, "My God, what a great answer, Sarah," but instead she'll be like, "Cool," and
No, you don't even get cool from
No.
Terry.
I love the canon.
Work it into something. Work it into
I'm
something.
gonna work it into something. It's like, I was actually thinking of what it must feel like to step into a place where there's tens of thousands of people. Like, honestly, my dream of being a rock star is fueled only by that.
Do you have any stage fright?
Terrible
Like you
stage
couldn't imagine getting up on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, even doing some sort of like crowd announcement or.
Yeah, I could do anything where I don't have to reveal myself personally, no problem. Like in a situation like this where I'm chatting freely with friends in front of people with my wife, and it's completely.
Yeah.
No, what an actor does, I think the main gift for me as a director, the gift of my life in being a director, is I watch actors be able to be on stage and reveal themselves through the work, and it's a level of artistry and confidence, and that is what you do when you're performing. You're revealing yourself through something that's very personal, there's a lot of technique, but to do that in front of hundreds of thousands of people like that, it's mind-blowing, it's very appealing. So I get the canon thing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of weird. I don't know if I've ever totally articulated this before, but one of the things that I say to myself when I'm in front of a large crowd, because you feel very small, and you're on very large, the stage is ridiculously huge, and no matter how close they put you together as a team, you feel really disconnected from all the people on stage. The audience is so far away, because there's barriers, and there's this, and there's that, and I always tell myself, I am as big as the PA system. Like, you are the PA system. Like,
Right.
don't think of you, the person. You are all of the speakers. And that's what I tell myself.
That's something you would think on an edible for sure.
That's good though,
You are all the speakers.
it's kind of a good, like a metaphor for life, like when you're afraid, like there's that saying, like if you're worried or nervous, imagine everyone naked in front of you, and I'm like, that is the worst thing.
Terrible.
That
Disgusting.
what? But that advice of I'm as big as a PA, I have access to that
Yeah.
presence. That's a good life.
You really pulled it around. I think you impressed me.
It only took like 6 minutes, but I feel like we're back on track. So.
Okay, so here's one. What song are you guys most proud of? That's how it's phrased. I love it.
Well, an hour ago I made some jokes about how like only like 2 songs are memorable on our records. Obviously, I know that's not really true. I think I always kind of go back to our album The Con, which came out in 2007. I think it was a real labor of love for Sarah and I, and it came on the heels of a really big successful song of ours, Walking with a Ghost, Sarah's song. And I think a lot of people in our orbit thought we would make a commercial record, like we'd follow it up with a commercial record to try to get on alternative radio again, and instead we made a 14-song album about death and loss, and it was not initially reviewed very well, but became one of our best reviewed, and I think like probably one of our most beloved records. But when we went out and toured it, we'd play the entire thing start to finish, and then the next day we'd finish it, we'd play it backwards, like we would start on the last, like we went out and toured the entire record, like we didn't just add a couple songs to the set. We believed in the songs and the story we were telling about this like series of horrible losses that had happened to us. We felt that we needed every chapter, like, and so yeah, like I think of that piece of work as like a song because it's a story. So
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah,
That. Here's a two-part from the same person. What advice would you guys give to your teenage selves?
that was one of the biggest gifts of writing the memoir, actually, was I spent so much time with, it felt like I was spending so much time with my adolescent self. I was so afraid to look at the photos and the videos. I preferred the memory. And then I really felt like I got super into the photos and the videos, and I would watch these just hours of videotape, archival footage of us with our had terrible longing to go back there, like to be with my family again. Like
I'm right here.
no, not just no, to be back in our childhood home, to be with my mom and my stepdad, to be with my friends. That feeling of like just going and being with like 20 kids at someone's house in their basement or going to a park, and I felt so like kind of like re-immersed in that life and that person, and I felt, this is gonna be cheesy, I thought, God, she's so brave. I felt this new, like I had been sort of like, I guess, a bit embarrassed and sort of had like put her away for a really long time, and because I spent all this time back in that part of our life and back in that version of me, I felt like she was the coolest person, and I was just like, oh, what I wouldn't give. Like, I know this is like therapy a bit, but I was like,
You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to give the audience something.
I actually talked about it in therapy. I kept saying, I wish I could go back and be with her and like tell her how great she is. And my therapist was like, she's here right now. So yeah, that was fairly big. So I feel like I did a lot of healing. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Tegan?
Can be with that, Tegan.
I will. Yeah, I think it was a really cool experience. I mean, it was obviously our first experience writing, like doing the memoir. Although we had really loved writing before we started making music. We actually used to write, but it was really cool to revisit that younger self and to like extrovert some of the internal thoughts and insecurities. And I think probably that was my lasting impression. Also, I was much more confident than Sara, and I think a little less tortured than her at that age. But I did get this overwhelming sense at 38 when I was writing it that we really misunderstood how great, like we were really lovely kids, like we were really sweet, we had great friends, we had amazing parents, we were really charismatic. Watching the photos in the video, or looking at the video, I was like, yeah, it's too bad that I don't think very many people told us. Well, this part's sad, I guess, like we weren't good students, you know. Everyone would say to our parents, like, oh, they're very bright, but they're just not focused. You know, we went to a massive public school, you know, 40 kids to a classroom, like, you know, just we were untethered. We were really unfocused. There was no one that really took that much of an interest in us, to be honest. And I don't mean,
You're talking about grown-ups.
yeah,
Kids
adults.
loved us.
Yeah. No, adults, like, you know, and my parents loved it. Like, we were very loved. Like, that was very clear. We were very loved. But no one ever sat us down and said the kinds of things people say to their kids now. Like, it just was a different era. You know, we were really, in the most respectful way, we were neglected a lot because our parents worked so much and went to school and were just not around. And especially through high school, we were alone all the time. And so just nobody was there at that time in our life where we probably just needed an adult to be like, hey, FYI, like, you're really great and you're going to do great things and don't worry so much. So yeah, I think I'll probably just go back and be like, everything works out great.
That's lovely. That's beautiful advice. Like when I say it to our kids, and I've learned this a lot from Anne-Marie, because Anne-Marie really can conjure up a lot of faith, and saying it's going to be okay and really believing it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful when you're able to contact that self-love and compassion for that much younger person. And, you know, we were joking about time is not linear. Well, time is not linear. And in fact, you do have your arm around that young girl. You are looking after her, right? That is happening. I think that's beautiful.
Here's a lightning round one. Where would you like to travel to that you haven't been? This is a question that came in.
There's like so much of Asia that we didn't get to travel to. It's like go to like Vietnam or Thailand or something like that. I'm like feeling very beachy.
I don't know. Because just going to a coffee shop in the car with my son feels exhausting to me right now. And yeah, so right now I'm just like, I'm excited if we could just get to my mom's. I'm like, we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Here's one that I'm gonna read as well. As a teenager, I used to listen to your music as a sad little gay kid in love with their best friend. My mom ended up loving your music, and we've been going to your shows for 15 years. Today I'm here with my mom and that same best friend who is now my wife. Did you ever imagine the huge impact you would have on queer people's lives? And how does it feel?
So that's really moving. No. We came up in a different time, right? Because our music career started in the late 90s, so there was no social media, there was no way to reflect back to the world what we were going through, but also no way to see what we were about to face, what we were about to go through. There was no manual for how to start a music career. There was no instructions. There was no YouTube and Spotify and social media to be like, okay. We rode around in carriages. It was hard to have a career back then. The bonnets were in the way. No, but not being able to see it, I was like, we were just kind of like, we were kind of stumbling around in the dark a bit. But my mom tells some pretty great stories in those early days of standing in rooms, like specifically, we won a contest in high school, and she does this really kind of like out of body version of being in that room and watching all these adults and college students watching us, and then we won. And it just was a silly, garage band competition in high school, but everyone else was older than us, and the fact that we won was a big deal, and a lot of media attention happened, and we got signed, and she tells a story about she was looking around at people and asking them, like, are they good? Because she was like, I thought you were good, but I was your mom. Like, I would, and so she's like, in the months that followed, friends would be over and Sarah would be upstairs rehearsing. We'll call it rehearsal. We need a director to step in, I'll tell you that. But mostly arguing with each other and yelling at one another as we worked out songs. And my mom said that it continued for months, like, where she would be asking herself, like, are they good? Like, and I can't remember the question anymore, but I would just like to say that. I was gonna. Okay, go ahead. No, it's funnier if I don't answer it, but yeah. It's like you don't deserve it because you didn't even remember the. You saw where I was going, right? Who's Biden now? No, I didn't. But it's a fun roller coaster I've been on for a long time, so I was like, we'll get somewhere and it'll be fun. But it was a nice visual of mom, like being like, are they good? Do you feel like mom's watching you always, looking down on you?
Yeah.
Talk about that there.
Wait, she's still alive.
Yeah. I think the first time.
We've been up here for over an hour. It's possible something tragic happened. They'd come get us.
They're like, let them finish.
This is very important. Don't tell them their mom died.
I don't like this. I don't like it. Okay. I remember when our audience shifted to accommodate the parents of our fans. Like, I remember when our audience mostly looked like kids our age. We played a lot of like college campuses, and we played a lot of bars in college towns, and that was really fun. And we spent a lot of time out at the merch table talking to people. These were our peers. We weren't in college, but we were college age, and we were hanging out with our peers. And then I remember around 2013, like when we put out our record Heartthrob, our audiences had expanded so much. That intimacy had changed, but we would do these meet and greets, and people would come with their parents, and they would say, oh, my parent introduced me to your music, or I into your music, and I needed my parent to bring me to the
That's
show.
why I was talking about my mom. Now I remember.
Yeah. And we found that profoundly moving, because our parents had introduced us to music and had been such willing participants in our music journey. Like, first they were bringing us to the concerts that mattered to them, then they were helping us get to concerts that we cared about, and they were listening to the music with us. Like, we wrote about this in our memoir, but went from like, why would you listen to Nirvana, and like, let's talk critically about what this music means and what these lyrics are, to then our stepdad buying Nirvana CDs for us and making mixtapes for his car so he would listen to Nirvana as well. And so there was this really significant bond that we had with our family around music and the shared experience. So when we shifted into that sort of like, parent-kid relationship at our shows, that was huge for us. Like, it was like, that was significant. I remember thinking we're doing something right because we swear so much and we're gay. And so I was like, if the parents are here.
But I don't think that we imagined this far into the future.
No. But that was like,
No
that was
way.
when things really changed, where I was like, we're having an impact, and we're able to connect with people, and we're able to connect parents and kids together. And that, to me, was like, was a huge thing.
And the second part of the question was, how does it feel? You have 2 minutes.
I will say I feel very grateful.
Yeah.
I feel really grateful.
Yeah.
Like, it took a lot of people and a lot of support and a lot of work to, not just to be musicians, but just like to keep, like to enjoy it. Like, I like to say that I think we're still pretty into what we do. Like, we're not crusty old, like, make a record and go tour, like, we still
We're not jaded.
No, we're not jaded. I don't think so. I
No.
think we're pretty excited. I think we're always thinking about ways to give back and how to, have new novel experiences, the canon thing, and I think, bigger cannons, yeah.
Smaller cannons even.
Yeah, just how tiny can we make the cannon? And we still fit. So yeah, like a lot of gratitude, which I know is like a thing people say, but it's like actually really genuine, It doesn't mean that we aren't holding other emotions too, but mostly gratitude that we get to create things. What a life we've had,
Yeah, and I would say you just vibrate with curiosity, and that is a beautiful counterpart to gratitude. It's just beautiful, and it's inspiring to be around you, and it's so much fun to.
But are you so
listen to.
exhausted too? Like, are you like, can't wait to go get away from us after this?
No, I'm grieving the separation that's going to happen imminently. Like,
We've had a really tremendous time.
We
We
have
just
had-
think both of you are so incredible. It's an honor to be invited to hang out with you guys and do this talk. Truly.
it's really a thrill. It's an honor. Likewise, it's an honor to be with all of you.
Yes.
I really want to thank you again for showing up, because showing up is everything we need now. We need so much to show up for each other and together in all the spaces that we can, with all the love we can, with all the gratitude, the curiosity, the openness, and the courage that it takes sometimes to just step into any given room. We're all here for you, like we're all here. We all have each other's backs, and I think this is a great way to be launching the rest of Pride. And your books are pre-signed and on sale out in the front, and I really encourage you to buy it, especially now after having had a chance to hear stories and hear your voices, and it's even a more meaningful read. And thank you. And Anne-Marie, is there anything you want to say?
No, this has been amazing and a dream come true, and such a